Hey, you savage sons of bitches. It's Greg Met from Medford Knife, MKT USA, and ASK Knives out here in Phoenix, Arizona. A little live on YouTube. You'll see this split over to Spotify and iTunes and all that as our podcast officially launches over on those platforms later this month. Anyways, I've got some guests in the Shack 3 today and want to say hi to Kevin McNamara's friend, Luis Alvarez. How's it going, man?
What's up, man? This is a pretty impressive place, I gotta say.
Well, you know, I was thinking about this. It's like as I was kind of envisioning what I was going to do here, I was thinking like Jack Daniel's barrels from the factory here. If I pull the bung, we'll get drunk off the vapor in here. I was thinking about all the stuff that kind of got me to where I am in my moment, in life. It's military, it's history, it's all the stuff I've read about. Some of my heroes, even like an actor like John Wayne, kind of represents this archetypal character. So he's kind of pokes his nose in my face. Some of my favorite artists like Earl Norham, who did that original the painting for a magazine back in the 50s. Some stuff from 1890s from the Indian Wars. That's a New York All Volunteers jacket. Everything here's got some kind of thing about it.
Everything in here has a mark of death. I love that. I think if John Wayne came in here to be like, well, I reckon I like your office there, cowboy.
I heard the best John Wayne story recently. I was reading a book about Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read the book, but he was talking about when he was dealing with all the communists in SAG.
Yeah.
And he's having this SAG meeting, and he's trying to adjourn the meeting because these commies have taken over the meeting out in L.A., and they're all screaming and making a big fracas. And it was that weird time in Hollywood where most of the big stars were veterans.
Yeah.
Lee Marvin and all those dudes, Henry Fonda, everybody had served in the military. And then they've got this artsy kind of lefty crowd of communists there. And he's trying to adjourn the meeting because all hell's breaking loose and nobody will adjourn the meeting. And he says, I moved to adjourn the meeting, and everyone starts screaming. And he says, well, anybody second the meeting? And they yell, no one's going to second the meeting, Nazi. And he points out and he goes, I bet he went. And John Wayne stands there, you damn right I will. I second the motion. And then they call the meeting. It's sort of my favorite John Wayne. I've got tingles from a real life John Wayne story I just read,
I mean, that's where we're at now with SAG. I got in trouble recently kind of talking smack about SAG because, well, to be honest, they haven't done anything for actors for a very long time. They haven't represented actors for a very long time, and it's unfortunate that it's become what it is. I mean, we haven't had a good contract through SAG in probably 3 or 4 decades. And I made a comment recently about how they're trying to, or they're allowing the studios to make the vaccine mandatory, and it's insane to me that our so-called union that's supposed to fight for our rights is catering to these studios and these people who clearly are just Marxist pieces of trash.
Unions in this whole country, they ruin everything they touch. They fuck everything up. They fucked up the automotive industry. They fucked up the aviation industry. They are absolutely fucking up the entertainment industry. They have fucked up public school systems in this country. The unions ruin everything they touch. They came up out of this black lung in the Industrial Revolution coal mines of Virginia, right?
Right.
Made sense. That was before the internet. That was before you could get a car and drive to a job someplace else and tell the boss to fuck off because of the black lung. But then they went to everything.
Yeah.
And they ruin everything they touch. They just, and if you ask any union member, I've sat down a bunch of times with like Teamsters, I've sat down with the pipe fitters union, I've sat down with guys from the trades. If you sit down with them, all of them are like, oh, they're all pro-union. They wear their Union Local 413 shirt and all that bullshit. But when you actually talk to them after a couple of beers, like, that fucking union doesn't do anything for us. They'll roll us over in 2 seconds. Yeah, it's the same with everybody I hear.
My mom worked for Ford for 36 years, and she was a union rep for the UAW and all of that. And she was a union rep for, I think, maybe 6 months, and was like, fuck this, I'm not going to be part
Turned off by it.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not going to be part of an organization who clearly just takes union dues from people and doesn't really give a shit about the people that they supposedly represent. So.
It's gangs and political strong arming.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the mafia was back in the day. Let's be honest.
And they're still here.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Of course.
So tell us, I know you got some a couple of gigs coming up here in town. You're doing some comedy stuff, you and Luis both tonight, right?
Yeah, so my buddy Luis Alvarez here is super funny stand-up comedian based out of Phoenix. He's been opening, featuring for Brian Callen. I've been emceeing for Brian Callen, and that's how we met. We became fast friends, and now we're such good friends. He let me take a shit in his bathroom this morning.
Oh man,
that's good friends, right? And he let me use his bidet. Yeah, here, Luis, tell him.
You let him use your bidet.
Well, this motherfucker's over here talking about you wash your ass. I don't know how you guys get down in California, but in Arizona, we got clean assholes, bro. We got clean guns and we got clean assholes. All right.
My OCD just kicked in really heavy, everybody. I don't even know what to say because we went from politics, commies, straight to the asshole. We cut everything out in between. I was a great line from The Meaning of Life, John Cleese. Just kiss the girl. Don't go diving for the clitoris. We just went all the way there in the first move.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing, really, if you think about it. Communists and assholes is pretty much, we just stayed on topic.
I consider anal second base.
There you go. Wait, whoa, what? Anal? How did we get to anal, man? All right, let's. Do you have a bidet?
No, I do not have a bidet.
Right? That's what I said.
No, I have a wand. I have the handheld thing.
Doesn't your hand get filthy if you got to shove it up under there?
I don't put a dirty ass in the shower. I just make sure it's extra clean in the shower.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant you had a wand on your toilet. I was like, wait.
Oh no. I have a regular toilet. I have a. There are women in my life going, oh my god, I can't believe Greg's talking about this on camera. We hit my one taboo subject in 5 minutes here.
Toilets,
bathroom habits. So,
we do have some shows going on tonight. Where are we at
House
tonight?
of Comedy.
We're at House of Comedy tonight. 7:30 and 9:30 show.
Is that out in Tempe?
That is in Desert Ridge.
Yeah.
Desert Ridge.
Oh, okay. What, Rick Bronson's?
Rick Bronson.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. You know who I saw there? I saw the dude who got hired for Saturday Night Live and fired in the, what's that?
Shane Gillis.
Shane Gillis, yeah.
That's a funny motherfucker. Yeah, I thought he was really good.
He's the truth. You know, that's what they don't want on there.
Yeah, and it was amazing because the show was scheduled and we scheduled for the show. And all of that shenanigan happened in like 1 week. And I was thinking about that dude. He just had his best week ever and his worst week
Well, honestly,
ever.
I feel like this is the best thing that's ever happened to him. You know,
because they would have clipped his balls.
That too. And then there's just so many people that know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They're just like, there's no reason this dude should have even been cut out in the first place.
Yeah.
And now they go over there because he got all this attention and they see, oh, this dude's not a racist. You know, he's a comic. He's trying to make people laugh. If you go back to that podcast and listen to the one, they're just talking shit.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get the two comics trying to get a reaction out of each other. That's what comics do.
I mean, when I go every night that I go on stage, I say at least 4 or 5 things that should and probably will eventually get me canceled. The only thing is I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna make money regardless. I have something that they can't take away from me, and that's talent and a sense of humor. So
what do you want us to joke about? You want me to go up there and talk about bears?
It's
about fucking animals?
I think it's a weird time to be in comedy with everybody's woke sensitivity. Yeah. It was funny. I'll introduce you to Lawrence when we hop off. He was a professional for about 10 years on the circuit on the East Coast. So we went. For my first time on stage, we went and we were kind of like challenging each other. What are you going to rip on tonight? I said, well, I'm going to drop the N-bomb tonight. He goes, what? I go, I'm going to tell the old-fashioned Richard Pryor role, and I'm going to drop the N-bomb. We got there, and the audience was 25% black, and I was like, oh, what? and I fucking sacked up and dropped it, and he was just sitting there. You know, he's this Jewish guy. He was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. That after the show was over, the girls came over. They were so nice, and they were totally cool. But I'm not in L.A. I don't know how it is out there. It's Arizona.
Yeah, the chances of me dropping an N-bomb at any point in my comedy career are 0.
But off stage, Kevin, that's a rip.
Well, yeah, that's not that. I mean, I'm from Detroit, so if I even if I did as a joke, I wouldn't be able to go back home for the rest of my life. So,
well, it was in the joke. Fortunately, I'm here, and life goes on. I'm making knives. So, what are you gonna do?
That's the funny thing about dropping the N-bomb when you're Richard Pryor is that you're allowed. So,
well, and everybody was in 1976.
Yeah, that's maybe. I don't know. Allowed. I don't know if allowed would be the word in 1976.
Nobody was censoring anybody then.
Yeah, maybe more acceptable back then to a point.
He broke every rule bringing that. You know, when he did that, Niggas Crazy. When that came out, that was. I remember I wore that album out listening to it. My mom's like, my dad buys the album. I'm listening to it. My mom here, she's like, what the hell is Greg listening to? My dad's like, it's just a comedy. He's a black guy. He's gonna like it.
I mean, Pryor's the GOAT. To know
Yeah.
that I've been on the same stage at the Comedy Store that Richard Pryor has been on, George Carlin has been on.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal to me. I take that very seriously.
Yeah, those guys are legends. And people forget, especially young people now who are, I'm going to say, the folks particularly under the age of 30, if you're 50 and older, you have heard comedy and heard stuff said that would never get said anymore. And you see,
Clay.
oh my God, yeah. How about old guys? How about Don Rickles, for Christ's sake? Don was a mean. You can't be that way anymore.
I mean, but
he's
there's
a nice guy off stage. So
Absolutely.
that's why he's allowed to say that stuff because it's a joke.
But my point though is that we all heard that comedy and we lived through it and we laughed our ass off and we laughed at each other and we we're like, oh my God, that's totally true. And you can't even say that shit anymore. So there's a whole group of people now, when they hear those legends, they're like offended by it.
Well, it's the same thing with television and film. There's so many movies and TV shows that can never be made today that were made back in the past. Like if you
Blazing Saddles.
All in the Family.
Oh yeah.
Never fucking happened.
Yeah.
Even movies that you look at now and you kind of you laughed back then, but now everybody wants to cancel. Like if you look at Wedding Crashers now. I mean, Wedding Crashers was hilarious, but if you look at the movie now with the way that everything is, everybody's so woke and everything's about women's rights. It's two guys that go out and just try to fuck every drunk girl they can find. But you couldn't do that now.
No,
because
it would have to be a lesbian, and a girl or on some weird transgender bender.
It would have to be, you'd have. They would if they ever remake it, it's going to be two women who just go out and try to fuck as many best men as they can. That's what's going to happen.
Well, that's what I see going on in politics too. So what I see happening, watch this wave over the next 10 years. The next 10 years is going to be the era of the black Republican. And it'll be the era of the black gay Republican because it's fucking beyond reproach. It shuts everybody up. If we can find some Republican, conservative, like pro-life, transgender she-males, they'll be the fucking governor of California. I mean, that may happen. I think that's going to be the shade everybody gives each other is we're going to try and coalesce the crazy hate groups into a candidate that shares our ideology just so we can shut them the fuck up and go back to the argument.
Well, the issue is the white knight syndrome and fake wokeness. The thing that happened this weekend is completely insane to me. Larry Elder had eggs thrown at him by a white woman wearing a gorilla mask, telling him he's not black enough. It's insane. 3
years ago, that would have been on every fucking major news channel. Would have been a big deal.
Of course, just like everything that's happening right now with Afghanistan. If everything that happened right now in Afghanistan was under Trump's watch, which it would never have happened under Trump's watch,
never.
Trump would be impeached yesterday.
Right.
But because
for the third time.
But because the media carries the water for Joe Biden in this administration, everything is just fine.
I have I'm very politically engaged and have been for a long time. And I was raised in the belly of the beast up in New England, went to school up in Massachusetts.
Oh, that's why you were willing to drop the hard N.
Because they're all racist up there.
It makes so much sense now. I know every guy in Boston that's listening to this podcast right now is like, you can't drop the M-bomb.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Forget it. Nah, he's from the hood for clearly local.
I'm from Worcester.
We got 3 legs of the milk stool that makes America. The 3 legs are us, who entrusts a few to kind of help manage the show. We got those shitheads that we put there to kind of help manage the show. And this representative republic, they're supposed to be the ones who've taken the time to read the issues. They're supposed to be the ones that weigh out the balance of things, while most citizens are too busy living life, rearing kids, and having professions to be that spooled up on the on information. Remember, this all came from the 18th century, right? So you never had fresh news. We have fresh news all the time. Your average person now is way more informed than a reporter in 1950.
I mean, but the issue is I wouldn't I wouldn't consider what happens now news. It's everything is an agenda. It's no longer news. It's no longer reported as is. It's reported as wanted to be.
Well, I was getting to my point. There's 3 legs to the milk stool that make this whole fucking thing work. The first leg is us. The second leg is the establishment we put in power. And the third leg, which is supposed to be watching and speaking truth to everybody, is the press.
Right.
They're supposed to be reporting on the battle between the powerful and the people who gave them the power. There's a battle always going on between the citizens and leaders. And the press is always supposed to be putting a spotlight, shining the light of truth on both groups. Well, here's what's really going on out in public, and here's what's really happening in Congress, so that we're informed. And that's a kind of a three-tiered battle, always going on. It's not anymore. It's a completely asymmetrical battle. They've gone over and joined the power because they want to go to the cocktail parties. They want to be at the National Press Corps dinner. They don't want to be uninvited from press briefings where they can just show up every day at 2:00 and get news stories. So that's what's happened with our country. We've lost, it was not the 3rd civil right. It was not the 5th civil right. It was the 1st, free speech, so that we had a free press, and it's gone.
You know what's
It's
amazing?
the most important thing.
You know what's amazing to me, and this is something that it's something I brought up in a conversation the other day, and the person I was speaking with was like, "Wow, I didn't even notice that." Do you remember when the president used to have media junkets and he would go up and he'd ask a question, and the second he finished the question, all you would hear was 50 questions coming from 50 different media outlets? And that's what happened with Donald Trump. As soon as he'd finish a
And
question,
he fucking stood there like a baller and answered him.
people screaming and yelling
Yep.
questions.
Yep.
The second Joe Biden finishes a question, it's absolute silence, and he goes right to the next person because they all know their line in the feed trough.
Yeah.
There is no screaming of questions because only the people that they've chosen are going to ask questions.
The fucking best part is he reads the fucking cliff notes on the side of his speech.
Yeah, he says the things out loud
he's
that
like,
he's not supposed to say.
Now I'm supposed to start being quiet and answer numbers. I'm supposed to answer from NBC, and he reads the name, and then he looks up to see where they're at, and they stand up. I'm like, oh my God, this is theater.
My favorite is when he'll finish and they'll ask him another question. He'll go, "Well, I'm supposed to leave now. I'm going to get in trouble if I answer any more questions, so I should go." It's like, you're going to get in trouble?
I'm like,
who the fuck?
Are
Who's
you the
putting you in
fucking president?
timeout? You're POTUS, you fucktard.
Every time I can't even watch shit live because, like, if I'm around the house, I'll throw some. I'm like, what? Did anybody just hear what he just said? It freaks me out, and it went from what I thought was going to be a good president who was kind of a baller and couldn't be bought, and he was like, "Fuck it, I like America," and I was pro-Trump before it even happened, and then he turned out to be like the fucking greatest president I've ever even contemplated having in my lifetime, and we'll never get another one like him. And I just walked around for 4 years with a smile on my face. And I deal with problems and I deal with business stuff all the time. I was the happiest I've ever been for 4 years.
The problem with Trump was that he wasn't a member of the club. And he didn't walk and talk like the members of the club. He tweeted at 3:00 in the morning after eating 2 Big Macs about shit that bothered him. And people say that's not presidential. But if you look at past presidents who we consider great presidents, they were all the same way. They just didn't have social media.
Right.
I mean, do you think for 1 second that Kennedy was running around banging Marilyn Monroe, and then when other things that came up that were a little touchy, he was like, "Oh, I can't talk about that"? No, people just weren't around to hear it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the social media
There's a lot of attention now that there didn't used to be, and there's a lot of access.
That's the difference, is that the president can tweet at 3:00 in the morning when he's drunk and everybody hears it. But all the presidents in the past were doing the same shit. They were just saying it to people who kept their mouths shut.
Well, they would say it to their inner circle, who would then whisper it into someone's ear, and then it would end up in someone's op-ed piece in the Washington Post.
And the media would actually run it because they didn't just carry the water for whatever government was in power at the time.
I tell people all the time, they say, "Well, I like Trump if he would just stop doing this and stop doing that." I go, "You mean if he would just stop communicating with you and telling you truly what's going on without a graduate from Washington University filtering it all through a op-ed speech? Is that what you mean? You mean a prepared? We've never heard a president talk in our entire lives what they really thought off the top of their head. Not once, not fucking ever.
Definitely not
Tell him that
clean.
clip. Tell him that clip that you hadn't seen before last night at the
Dude,
show.
I don't even remember what it was. It was like Trump talking about woke. Dude, I literally busted.
Oh, is it that
out
everything woke
laughing.
turns to shit?
Dude, everything woke turns to shit. I did not expect
Okay.
him to say that shit.
And he said woke equals loser.
Okay, so I saw him the week before that, because we ended up somehow or another friends with his son, both of his sons. We made nice for them and stuff. So whenever he's around, I usually shout out to Don Jr. I'm like, hey Don. And he's like, you want in? I'm like, yep. So it's pretty cool. Those guys always fucking follow
They seem
through.
like real dudes.
They do exactly what I'm like. I am telling you, I've never seen anything like it. We walk up and it's just a fucking shit show. There's a sea of people everywhere. We walk up, we go over to this flagpole. There's a guy there with his finger. And oh, are you Mr. Medford? Yep, come right with me. Are you with him? Boom. We walk right in, right up to the front, right in the middle. Boop. I'm like, oh my God, that's Trump right there. I'm like, hey, what's going on? So we went and saw him speak here because, we got the big recount going on that is, delayed getting released. And then I think 4 days later or 5 days later, and the next week he was out somewhere on the East Coast. Maybe he was in Alabama or something. And he did that everything woke turns to shit thing. And the place went fucking crazy.
He's a comic,
It was a
bro.
standing-
He's
it
a
was a standing-
crushing,
totally is.
touring comic, bro. That's what it was. Sold out fucking shows, and he's crushing.
Yeah.
I could never write anything that good.
No, he's a fucking Borscht Belt. You know what he's got? He's got a Benny Hinn and fucking Don Rickles, the ghosts of those two inspiring
How about
him.
this? How about this? You want to talk about a real dude and just like being able to communicate? Did you hear what you know what he's doing this weekend?
No.
You know what he's doing this
Yeah,
weekend?
he's calling the fights.
He's
for
calling
P4L.
the fights for Triller. So you can listen to the commentary or you can switch over to Donnie Jr. and Trump just talk. They're
And
going
his-
to
and his
break
dad?
down the fights, bro.
Yeah, Trump
Okay.
and Trump Jr.
Okay, that's kind of genius. Like those guys,
Bro.
I love those guys. I just love them.
I got into it.
I didn't even hear about that, but I'm gonna find where I can see that like today.
It's was it Holyfield?
It's Holyfield.
Holyfield and Vitor Belfort.
It was supposed
are
to be
fighting.
De La Hoya. De La Hoya fell out because he got COVID, and now is it Holyfield? Yeah.
I think is it Holyfield
Who
or
got his ear bit off?
That was
Holyfield.
Holyfield,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Holyfield.
This is like the hair band hitting all the casinos around the country, all the hair bands from the 80s.
Yeah.
These guys are recycling their careers because there's nothing exciting going on except the UFC. So funny.
I got into it last night with a fan who commented on this video that I made recently that went viral. It's,
Hey, give me 1 second. Hey, you can zoom this out a kid in hair so Luis is in frame. I know he's getting cut out right now. Hey, over here. You can come up on the top of the camera and hit the live show. We don't give a fuck. It's a little unscripted. There's a little thing up on top and you can watch. Hey, come here. Billy, Bobby, come around over here on this side. Flip out the viewing screen on the side of the camera and then turn it over so you can see here. There you go. And then you can zoom in and out and kind of get all three of us in frame. There we go.
There he is.
That's a little better. Sorry about that, everybody. We're not used to having three in here, so we're
There
working
he
on it.
is. Handsome Louis.
And then my guy that kind of helped set this all up, he's actually out with COVID right now. So, Bobby's stepping into somebody else's board and shit here.
That's
so
all right, and he'll be just fine.
everybody will live.
Don't worry, he'll be just fine.
And he is just fine.
yeah, of course he is.
He felt like he was going to die.
Yeah.
And persons unknown got him some ivermectin. And then he took zinc.
Oh, you
and
mean
so
horse paste?
horse paste? That's what it
Yeah.
is. We skipped the horse paste. We just got horse shit.
Yeah,
he
be
ate the horse
careful.
shit because that's what Republicans do. We just eat horse
Be
shit.
careful eating that horse paste. No, I got into it with a fan last night because he commented about the Trump thing. He put on.
I can't believe they're doing that, by the way. That's fantastic.
So this video that I have this video that's going viral right now, and basically it's called "The States Discuss COVID," and it's Texas and Florida having a conversation with California and New
Oh, it's
York.
a satire and it's just you, right?
Yeah, it's just me.
I saw that.
And it's going pretty viral right now. And one of the comments on it, the guy said, he said, "It's funny that you are a fan of a guy who would rather call fights on the day of 9/11 than make a statement about the people who died on 9/11 or the soldiers who fought for 9/11." And I was like, he can't do both? You're assuming he won't. You can't do both. He can't call a fight and also say, I would like to send out my appreciation for the heroes of
What the fuck
9/11.
is that guy doing?
It doesn't
on
make any
9/11?
sense. Yeah.
Besides commenting on posts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this the hypocrisy with these dudes.
Listen, the founding fathers were right. They didn't want everyone voting, and the internet's giving every motherfucker with a computer and a phone a vote to talk and chime in. Most motherfuckers should shut up and listen. Well, I'm blown away now. The hypocrisy towards him has been distasteful and disgusting. And my favorite thing about Trump, of everything, is you got to find out who everybody was and what they were made of.
Oh, yeah.
You can't fight him without taking off your clothes, because you go, oh, okay, now we see who the dirty, rotten, lying motherfuckers are. He's not a truth teller. This guy's a fucking lackey. That's not what happened.
Trump's got bars.
When it goes off script, you see how nervous these dudes get. You know what I mean?
Trump's got bars. Just watching him in the debates I could watch the debates all day.
Well, the best one ever was when with Hillary. When oh my God, when
so
be in jail.
You would be in jail.
He just goes, you'd be in jail. And he did like mic drop, he just kind of turns it. She's talking and he's like the Greek chorus in the background. You'd be in jail. That's because you'd be in jail.
My favorite is when he's like, all these Hollywood people in Hollywood, like Rosie O'Donnell, not attractive. Ugly woman.
He's got his my mom calls it the Greek chorus. He does the little chimes in on himself all the time. I'm going out to Hollywood, not a place you want to go. And he just has his little side comments. And it's like there's a little Greek chorus up here, and he just does the Greek chorus. It's commentary on himself.
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's the angel and the devil on his shoulder, and every once in a while one of them will say something into his ear and he just repeats it. That's all
I did not say that about women.
Yeah.
Just Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah. I mean, he just goes, oh my God, did he actually say that?
Debates, or as I like to call them, roast battle.
The best was when he said the grab her by the pussy thing, and he never denied it. He was just like, they didn't tell me that I was being recorded. That's such a boss thing to say, because everybody else in that situation would have been like, oh, it was taken out of context and I didn't say it that way. They chopped it up. He's just like, they didn't tell me they were recording. Why are people
acting like that move has never worked? He never grabbed a pussy, bro.
Oh, well, have you? All right.
Consensual pussy grab?
Well, this is going out on the internet.
I'm going to tell you one of the funniest. I'm going to tell you, I have weird interactions.
Bobby left. Fuck y'all.
I had one of the weirdest reactions. I hired this guy, and after he was here about 3 weeks, we found out he was some sort of white supremacist neo-Nazi. We didn't know that in the interview. Sleeves rolled up, just had regular interview. I just figured he's maybe a biker, maybe he was a hobo at one point. And he's in, so I have this, my production manager at the time, she's part Cuban, part Chinese. And he's like, so where are you people from? He asked these questions of her, and she came to me. She's like, hey, boss, that guy out there, he's asking me some weird questions. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just note to self, and I kind of watch a little closer. And then somebody else came over and said, hey, what's up with the new guy? He asked me like where my family was from. I was like, okay. And then the guys in the grind room, in the assembly room, there's 5 or 6 guys in this room. They're all pretty tight-knit little group of dudes hanging out all together, quietly doing work. So I go to the lead in the shop. I'm like, hey, what's up? They're like, oh, he says some funny stuff. I'm like, what do you mean funny stuff? And I say, he's like, well, he wants to know where we are, if any of us are part Jewish. And I'm like, oh. So at this point, I got enough data points. I pull the guy into my office. I'm like, hey, listen. I said, I'm hearing rumblings. If you're a neo-Nazi or a skinhead or whatever the fuck you are, white supremacist, no problem. Keep it the fuck to yourself. Just do the job. Nobody wants to know your politics here. It's fringe shit.
Right.
And he goes, why would you call me a neo-Nazi? And I go, well, you were asking people if they were Jewish. I thought it was weird. And he goes to me, and I'm telling you this from hand to God, the funniest fucking thing I ever heard a dude say to me. He goes, and this is not the funny part. He goes, I'm not a neo-Nazi. I fucked a Jew one time. And I went, and I go, so as he says it, and my door's open, and the guy across the hallway hears the whole thing. I go, okay, see, that's an example of something that should be your little voice that you never, ever repeat. You shouldn't say that out loud in your apartment, lest the next door neighbor hears. And he goes, okay, I'll correct myself. I made love to a Jew. And he looked at me, and I was like, you thought I was talking about the word fuck. I go, are you fucking kidding me?
You didn't
are-
find it strange that all your blades kept coming out in the shape of a swastika?
You know, he started bringing WWE professional wrestler models in and was having fights with them like during lunchtime. And at that point, we're like, okay, our time's got to end. And I'm trying to be, you know,
Why does the Undertaker have a Nazi uniform on?
Funnest neo-Nazi I've ever heard of.
was it, so here's the thing. I told the guys in the room, I go, hey, listen, you guys, it sounds like he's a neo-Nazi. I go, is anybody really offended, or would we find it kind of funny? And I said, this is a boring job. I mean, it's making knives. It's quiet, repetitive work. We still quote this dude to this fucking day. It was 3 years ago. The greatest one-liners ever. And that one's our favorite one. I was like, I go, if I were you, I go, if you guys want, I'll kick him out today. I said, but he says some funny shit. And we should keep him around. I mean, this guy's like a fucking chia pet of shit that comes out of his mouth. Anyway,
He just keeps bringing in only white guys from the WWE.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So, you guys, now, Luis, are you always in town, or are you traveling a ton? Like,
I'm traveling. I'm in town like 2 weeks out the month, and then when I'm in town, I'm just doing Phoenix has a great comedy scene, bro. A lot of people were trying to move to Austin from LA. They're, on that Joe Rogan bandwagon, and Joe Rogan's gonna open up a club. We have 6 great comedy clubs here.
Yeah.
It's so slept on. I think it's just because the heat. People don't want to deal with the heat.
Yeah.
But if you're not pussy, bro, you can get up. I work here. I work every weekend. He knows what's up, man. That's why he came out here.
Right.
Because he's not getting any spots in LA. He came out here to get some work with me. And we're gonna be at, like I said, we're gonna be at House of Comedy this weekend. But every weekend I'm in town, I got 6 different venues I can go to. And I just get that work here.
you can
man.
always get gigs here. You
Yeah,
can stay
bro, it's
fresh.
great, and I love Arizona crowds. It's not no liberal.
This crowd's
pussies.
not. It's not
It's
wokey woke.
hard-working people that they paid money and they want to laugh.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then you're out. Tell us what stuff you're doing on. You've got stuff on TV right now, right?
Yeah, so I'm on a show called Why Women Kill.
Fantastic.
And it's always a man's fault.
Of course.
It's on CBS. I think it's on Paramount Plus now. But 2 seasons of that. I'm writing, I'm directing, I'm producing. I just directed a film that's we're going to be in Sundance, and I got another film coming up that I'm going to be directing here in November, and then a feature film that I'm going to be directing that has post-production, or I'm sorry, post-theatrical distribution with Netflix.
So tell me a little bit. What's the how long you been in the entertainment business for now?
14 years now. I moved to LA 14 years ago.
Where'd you grow up?
Detroit.
Detroit. Okay.
Detroit, yeah.
And so you moved out to LA 14 years in, and do you have like, everybody's got this, a lot of people have a place, like when I get to here, I've made it.
Yeah.
Do you have that in your head, what that is?
Honestly, I think that there's positive and negatives to having a goal. Once you reach that goal, typically people think that they can relax. I'm goal oriented in the sense of I set small goals to achieve, and then I always have goals above that. I'm not a settle kind of guy. So I don't really have a point where I can say, okay, well, if I accomplish this, then I've accomplished what I need to accomplish. I always want to keep progressing in everything that I do. Starting my production company was a big deal for me, getting that off the ground, getting
What's that called?
running. Bad Lad Productions.
Okay.
And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I'm tired of the Hollywood conveyor belt of bullshit that happens now, and it's all Hollywood is remakes and reboots of old ideas.
Safe shit.
It's exactly, safe shit.
Yeah.
In studios don't take chances anymore. They won't even give you an opportunity to do a series or do a movie unless you have bankable talent, or what they consider bankable talent
Star
in your
capital.
film.
Star Capital.
Yeah, and then you make something great. You create a product that's great, that's undeniable, and then they come running to you, and then they want to take the stars from that and make them stars in other things. And it's like, well, do you realize that how much talent is out there that you could be banking on? You could be creating new bankable stars.
It just requires work, and it requires talent yourself, because you got to be.
And taking a chance.
Yeah, but you
And
got to be able to see
creating
talent. You got to be able
art.
to spot talent. You know, who's the guy? They just did a big series about him on Netflix. He's the biggest music producer that's ever existed.
I don't know. I don't think I saw that one.
Oh shit.
Black dude, white dude.
Well, he's a white guy, old Jewish guy. He came out. He was one of the first dudes that said he was bisexual in the big business. Got Biggie Smalls and all those guys going. Started that hip hop company as a spinoff from them.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name.
Bobby's gonna pull it up for me. It's a thing on a show. It's on Netflix, and
it's not Rick. Is it Rick?
And he picked everybody, man. He's fucking Simon and Garfunkel, Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan. He's had everybody. He's shaped the music of our lives. That is one of those guys where Hollywood needs guys.
Foster.
What's that?
David Foster.
Nope.
No. Clive Davis.
Clive Davis.
Clive Davis.
Clive's a fucking, he's the original music gangster of all time. He is still to this day in his 80s picking the coolest music hitting the scene. He's one of those guys who's taken chances at every point of his career, picking obscure talent out of nowhere because he's like, oh, that's good, that'll work, that's awesome. Just finding talent and bringing it in. Every time he's gotten kicked out of one production company or music company, he goes and starts something from the ground up. Next thing you know, he's got all the best new artists. He's the one who discovered Whitney Houston, and just
don't get those confused.
yeah.
Well, that.
But Hollywood needs those guys. Those are those legendary guys where people came out from all across America and they just discovered raw talent and took chances on people, and it wasn't just all upon bankable stardom.
Well, the music industry has definitely benefited from the internet in the sense of you can get your music out there now as an independent artist, and it can be heard, and you can become a star from that. The music industry has benefited from that, but unfortunately the
film's not so much.
The TV and film industry has not, because you still have to play with the big boys to get your stuff seen. I mean, you have options of putting things up on Vimeo or YouTube. YouTube's a great way to get yourself out there. But if you really want to go mainstream and get in theaters and get distribution deals and these types of things, you still have to play with the big boys. Unfortunately, the TV and film industry hasn't caught up to the music industry as far as the internet
I
goes.
think it's coming, and I think COVID kicked them all in the balls and should have scared them. Because
it's definitely coming.
If you're in the theater business, you're about irrelevant, because in half of this country, nobody wants to go to a movie theater.
Yeah.
And the people who do are outvoted in those states.
And it's sad, though, because the movie experience...
Oh, I love the movie theaters,
love
man.
the movie
I love the
experience.
popcorn and sitting there in a big screen and immersed in all this anticipation. It's like getting ready for a show. It's awesome.
I don't love that it's $40 a person to experience the real movie experience. A bucket of popcorn costs $13, and the ticket costs $18, and then the drink costs $7 and all that. I think that part of the movie experience kind of sucks.
Going to the movies with the wrong people, bro.
I mean, bro, I just honestly, I rock a backpack. I rock a backpack with bottled water and popcorn and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I think it's going to catch up. It just hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah.
I have the ability, for instance, with that skit that I did recently. It's got over 500,000 views in the past 2 days, and that brings eyeballs to my brand, which brings eyeballs to my production company, which gives me an opportunity to create a fan base for when I do release projects that I have through my production company. So it's coming, but it's a slow go right now, unfortunately.
The other thing is I think people have a false perception of success, and I think people think success just happens overnight. And I guess for some people it does, but usually it's everyone else finds out about it overnight, and behind it is a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades of super hard work. I think people have especially young people, they have a false expectation. Like, oh, I want to have a knife company like this. This is great.
Yeah.
Or did you buy this from somebody?
Yeah. No, I built it, asshole.
I'm like, fuck no, man. I didn't take a paycheck for 3 years and put every goddamn penny in.
Well, if you look at it now, like the YouTubers and social media stars are the biggest stars in the world now. If you look at, like, for instance, Jake Paul and Logan Paul are the highest paid prize fighters in the world right now, and they're awful. And I can say that because I fucking know him.
Is one of them like a punk ass kid who was challenging people to fight?
Jake Paul. Yeah, he just fought Tyron Woodley and beat him in a decision.
Okay, so he's tough.
It wasn't a bad fight.
It wasn't a bad fight. No, it wasn't a bad fight.
He's fucking annoying. I want to see him get knocked out. But
hey, Jake,
putting in the work.
Fight a boxer. maybe. You're a boxer, fucking fight a boxer.
Right.
But he's fighting MMA guys and guys that have been retired for 6 and 7 years and NBA players.
Clever.
Smart. Listen,
Clever.
I'm not gonna hate.
That's
I'm not gonna hate.
That's the Kardashian shit of scrapping, backyard scrapping, if there ever was one.
I'm not gonna hate. If you can make $1 million to knock out Nate Robinson, go for it. I would do it. I would knock out Nate Robinson for far less money than $6 million or whatever Jake made from that fight.
That's pretty funny. I've heard about this. I haven't watched any of that stuff.
It's
I work too much and then I don't have TV. So.
But if you look at these social media stars, you've got big movie stars that are clamoring to do skits and things with them. Like The Rock did a skit with Logan Paul and to promote his movie.
I know, I can't believe that. But I mean, I get
crazy.
it, but unbelievable.
It's the amount of eyeballs that they can bring to the table is mind-boggling.
Well, you talk about disruptor technology, you talk about disruptor apps, you talk about disruption. There's nothing more disruptive than being able to pick up one of these cameras for a couple grand. That's what 10 times better than broadcast quality was 10 years ago,
Right.
It's fantastic quality. And the technology has brought the tools of creativity to a lot more people's fingertips. In 1970, you needed, $1 million of equipment to shoot something that looked decent.
Right.
Now people want authentic, creative, fun content that's fresh today. It doesn't even need to have the same production quality. And a lot of guys can get that equipment. Anybody can get it. It's not that much.
The biggest issue I think now is not the availability of content, but the content that's being pushed by these big, these big social media platforms. And it's the issue is that it's taking our kids in the wrong direction. That's my biggest issue with all of it.
It's funny. I had these subscription services for different channels, just like everybody else does. My kids watch this and watch that, and I find myself gravitating to YouTube because I can dive into segments of things that I'm into. And the most interesting thing I've watched in 2 years, there's this guy in France. He has a wooden table and a camera pointed straight down, and he gets old rusted battlefield relics and he restores them to perfect brand new condition. And it's very formulaic. He does the same thing every time, same little graphic thing. Here's what I'm doing next. He sandblasts it, heats it up with a torch, straightens it, welds up all the little pivots, grinds it all down, files chamfers on it by hand, paints it in 3 steps, puts it back together, turns new screws, and at the end, it's perfect, like the fucking day it was made. I can't stop watching it, and it's like, it's like no production costs. A fucking video camera taped to the ceiling, for God's sake, and I just crack up. I'm like, wow, this is what I'm watching. Yeah. What is everybody else watching?
Luis just told me today about this idea that he's gonna start a channel on Twitch called Comedians Killing Zombies, and he's just gonna play a video game where he just kills zombies and tells jokes and talks shit to 12-year-olds.
Oh my God, that would totally work.
Of course it will.
My son and I sit watching sci-fi movies, and I'm like, and girls in the background cooking dinner or whatever, and she's like, oh my God, you two are fucking hysterical. I was just thinking, of all the goofy shit I've seen online, there have got to be just like a couple of buddies who are funny watching movies. Like that would be a thing on Twitch.
It's better than most DVD commentary. You know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
have 2 dudes talking shit about a shitty film
And not boring.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
oh, that's kind of funny.
All morning I was trying to post stories to my Instagram about the shows that we're going to be doing, and you just hear Luis in the background. I never gave a fuck. You ain't got no hose. I kill all these zombies, motherfuckers. South side. I'm like, dude.
So that's in the background of your.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, can I just fucking can I do one post about the shows tonight without you talking shit?
And you're like, he's like, no.
The best part about the zombie game is that they're Nazis.
They're Nazi zombies.
So there's
You could say whatever you want then.
fuck them.
Right.
Fuck a Nazi and fuck a zombie.
Oh.
They were shitty people when they were alive.
White guy, Nazi, zombie. That's the trifecta right there. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys for coming in. We're going to go through, give you a walkthrough, and kind of check the place out a little bit.
I'm excited. I need a knife.
We got more than.
I need a knife. Luis lives in a sketchy neighborhood.
I know a guy. Luis, where do you live?
I live on 7th. I live downtown Phoenix.
No, ish.
He lives over by where the Diamondbacks play.
Oh, okay. So you live downtown.
I'm gonna look up.
In the gay district?
We have. No, chill out.
No.
Hey.
Just the wing.
No, you down the Willow district? Come on,
Luis
man.
has a girlfriend.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. She made me stir fry last night and chicken wings. She's Asian.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Oh, awesome.
It was amazing.
I'm looking up the show because we have more than one show tonight we have shows all throughout till Sunday. So let me just get the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so tonight 7:30, 9:45. Tomorrow 7 o'clock.
So wait, tonight 7:30 and 9:45
Yeah.
at Rick Bronson's House of Comedy in Desert Ridge.
Yes, sir. And
Next.
tomorrow, same place, 7 p.m. for the first show, 9:30 for the second show,
7 and 9:30 at Rick Bronson's House of Comedy, Desert Ridge.
and then Sunday 7 p.m.
Sunday,
So
7 p.m.
let me end on this real quick. So I'm at Enterprise rent a car yesterday morning, and I'm standing in the lobby trying to rent a car to drive out here. And I've got Luis on the phone with me, and I need to learn never to put Luis on speakerphone because he always says some crazy shit.
That's what everybody says about me.
So I've got him on speakerphone in a room full of people at Enterprise rent a car, and he's like, "Hey, so I got you on this show tomorrow night. I'll get you on two times." He's like it's gonna be at House of Comedy. He goes,
This one wasn't at House of Comedy.
Oh, no.
This one was downtown.
"Oh, downtown," and he goes, "Hey, but it's a black show, so are you okay with that?" And I look around, and everybody looks at me, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, of course. Why wouldn't I be? That's a silly question.
I was last week.
I love black shows." I'm just like, why would
Everybody
you do
should
this
have
to
a
me?
black show.
Yes. In fact, I only do black shows. I'm a quarter black somehow. But yeah.
So let me get this straight. Just to wrap it all up in a tidy bun, you would drop the N-bomb if you weren't from Detroit. You could go home then. Like if you were from Indiana.
You're gonna get this dude fucking canceled.
No.
Viral for the first time, and you're gonna take all this shit away from him.
No,
Fuck you,
I'm
man.
just
I've been
kidding.
viral several times. Thank you very much.
That
But
was a disease.
no.
I'm pro-viral.
I don't ever.
I'm just kidding. You
I
don't
don't
have-
ever drop the N-bomb.
Listen, as your attorney, I recommend you not to answer that question.
Yeah. The answer is no. I don't
everybody.
even know the N-bomb.
All right, you guys, check these guys out. This is Kevin McNamara and Luis Alvarez. They'll be at Rick Bronson's House of Comedy, Desert Ridge, today and tomorrow here at the factory at Medford Knife and Tool and
Follow
ASK
me.
Knives.
Follow me on Instagram.
Follow him on Instagram.
At Kevin Mac.
Kevin Mac.
Kevin MAC. And Comedy Luis, Comedy LUIS on Instagram.
Comedy LUIS on Instagram. Fellas, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Greg Man from Medford Knife and Tool, MKT USA, and ASK Knives. I'm fucking out of here. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I love this one.
What's the difference between a wet raccoon and Donald J. Trump's hair? A wet raccoon doesn't have $7 billion fucking dollars in the bank. Plus.